On the last episode of Hops and Gnarly Brewing, I experimented with open fermentation to see if it makes a better Saison. It turns out open fermentation can make a pretty good Saison, but using an airlock can too. And it's starting to feel a little bit like anything goes when it comes to Saison. Today, I'm testing 4 different yeast strains to see the range of flavors and aromas we can create within the same exact wort. We have Imperial Rustic and Napolean, and I thought it'd be cool to throw in a couple dry yeasts, so we have Belle Saison from Lallamand and BE-134 from Fermentis. Obviously, this isn't a scientific test, and this isn't necessarily about finding the best yeast strain. It's about experiencing a range of flavors and aromas and hopefully finding out which ones I enjoy most. Now, let's make some beer. It's a nice day out, so I figured why not brew on the patio? For this beer, I'm starting with some local spring water and I'm adjusting the water profile using gypsum, calcium chloride, Epsom salt, and a little lactic acid. This step isn't necessarily required to make good beer, but it definitely helps, especially if you want to make something great. For the grain bill, I'm using some locally malted grains from Proximity Malt. I have 82% Pilsen, 10% white wheat, 4% rye malt, and 4% dextrin. Let's get it going. Since we're testing 4 yeast strains, I need to make more beer than usual, but not quite enough to fire up my 10-gallon Blickman Brew Easy. To extend the capacity of this Brewer's Edge mash and boil, I'm going to mash in this 10-gallon mash tun and then boil in the mash and boil. I'll keep mashing this in until everything is nice and saturated, then I'll let things settle for a minute before recirculating the mash from the mash tun into the kettle and back into the mash tun. After an hour at 152 Fahrenheit or 67 Celsius, it's up to 168 Fahrenheit or 76 Celsius for mash out. Okay, that's enough of that. Time to yank these grains and get our boil started. Okay, we're up to full boil and it's time for the first hop addition. Here's 40 grams of Saaz and our 1-hour timer starts now. Dinner is almost ready and the sun is setting, so I think I'm gonna turn the camera off and enjoy the night. With 15 minutes left in the boil, I'll add 40 grams of select spalt and then 40 grams of Callista at flame out. Once they're cooled down, each 1-gallon fermenter will receive a different yeast strain. We have Imperial Napoleon, Imperial Rustic, Saison, BE-134, and Lallamand Belle Saison. The next day, fermentation was cruising along, and by the second day, almost every fermenter was overflowing with healthy, active krausen. About a month later, I cold crashed, kegged, carbed, and canned each batch. And now, it's been about 6 weeks since brew day, and it's time to taste the results. From left to right, we have Napoleon, Rustic, BE-134, and Belle Saison. Each one hit a final gravity of at least 1014. Napoleon has a nice floral aroma with a faint note of bubblegum, but the flavor on this batch was dulled by a hint of caramel that makes me wonder if it was oxidized. Rustic is quite a bit spicier, and it has some floral and bubblegum notes. The flavor is much better here with bright clove, banana, and bubblegum. Now, let's try the dry yeast. BE-134 smells a lot different than the others with notes of cherry and banana. It's super smooth and kind of has like a raisin flavor. This one isn't spicy at all. And finally, Belle Saison has a familiar floral spice and tastes like bubblegum, but falls a little flat for me. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd probably say Rustic, but the range of flavor here is pretty wild. If there's one thing I've learned about Saison throughout these last few brew days, it's that I don't know shit. The Saison style is incredibly complex, and in order to properly explore it, I need your help. If you have a tip, best practice, recipe, or anything to contribute to this series, leave me a comment below. With your advice, we can circle back on this style in the future and learn together. This episode of Hops and Gnarly Brewing was made possible by these awesome partners. The labels on these cans were made at home with Avery 22827, and if you want to make something similar, I made an easy to use template that's linked in the description below. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you again soon.